Hello again, I am Daniele, and in this video I'm going to show you how to set up your first app and how to implement OAuth. And let's start by understanding why you need OAuth in the first place. If you've watched the Getting Started video, you already know how to use an API token, which, just to recap, is a parameter that you can add to your API calls to have access to a specific user's data. And this is fine if you want to have access, for example, to your own data. But in the case of an app used by many users, you need to have different keys for each one of them. And in theory, you could use the API token of each one of these users, but it's not the best solution for a few reasons. First of all, you would have to ask them to give you their own API token by copy-pasting it somewhere, which is not a very good user experience. And also, giving away an API token means giving away access to all of the data in that account, even if the app that you want to use only really needs to have access to a specific type of data, for example, only the deals or the contacts. And if the user gives away the API token to 10 apps, they will not be able to uninstall only one of these apps, because the only thing that they can do is change the API token, but if they do, they're going to also break the integration with all of the remaining apps as well. So this is why you need OAuth, and the concept is simple. When a user installs your app, you receive an access token that you can use to make API calls for that user. Okay, so let's create a simple app together and see how this all works. Inside your Sandbox account, if you go to Settings, Apps and Integrations, Marketplace Manager, you'll find the option to create a new app. So let's do that. As you can see, there are a few fields that need to be filled, but for now, let's just give our app a name. Let's upload an icon just to make it look nicer. And let's define a callback URL, and we'll see what this field means in a second. Let's save the app and open it again, because this time we can find new information. It now has a client ID and a client secret, and we'll need this later. At this point, this app doesn't do anything yet, but we can already install it. So let's open the preview and try to do that. This is the authorization page that every app needs to go through when a user decides to install it. It shows the data that the app is requesting access to, and it gives the user a chance to decline or proceed. And if I click on Allow and Install, let's see what happens. I am redirected to the callback URL that we specified before with an additional parameter in GET called code. Let's open the OAuth documentation page for a second, and you can see that we are already at step 3 of the flow. So what we need to do now is use this authorization code that we have received to get the actual access token. And we do this by making the post request described in step 4 and 5. And when you're developing an actual app, you will do this programmatically, of course, but for now, let's use Postman, because it makes it really easy to see the calls that you are making. So let's create a new post request in Postman and set it up as described. First of all, it needs to be authenticated with basic auth, so let's do that by using the client ID and the client secret that we have seen before. And let's make sure we set the right content type for the body of the request and pass the required parameters. Grant type needs to be authorization code. Then we need to pass the redirect URI again, and of course the actual code that we have received. Let's send the request, and if everything is correct, yeah, there you go. Magic. This is the access token that we can use to make our actual API calls. And let's ignore for a second the other parameters, and let's see how we can use this access token. So let's jump to step 6. One thing to keep in mind is that when you're using access tokens, the API URL is different, is api-proxy.pipedrive.com, and there's no /v1 like you have when you're using an API token. Okay, let's try to make a GET request to users /me to get the information about the user that this access token is linked to, which should be me because I just installed this app. As you can see, the access token is not passed as a GET parameter like the API token, but it needs to be added as an authorization header that looks like this: authorization, bearer, and the access token. Postman can format the header for you, so let's set the authorization type to bearer token and paste our access token and send the request, and there you go, perfect. Now, just to show you how the actual header looks like, we can open the code view in Postman, and this is the curl request, and you can see here the actual header that is being sent. Now, if I try to get something else, for example the deals, you can see that I receive an error, and this is because this app didn't request access to deals. I can add deals to the scopes of the app later, but this will automatically notify all of the users who have installed this app previously and ask them to install it again. So make sure you choose your scopes carefully when you create your app. Let's go back to the call we made to receive the access token, and let's take a look at the additional parameters. You can see there is an expires in, which is for how many seconds the access token will be valid. It's 1 hour. And once the hour has passed, the access token will no longer be valid and you will have to request a new one by using this refresh token. And let's see how you do that. We can go to step 7 on the documentation page and let's build this request. It needs to be authenticated in the same way that we have seen before. And in the body of the request, this time we have grant type refresh token, and we need to pass the refresh token. Let's send the request, and here's a new access token that will be valid for another hour. The refresh token doesn't change, so every time the access token expires, you can just send the same request and you will always receive a new access token. And that's pretty much it. I know that OAuth can be intimidating at first if you've never used it before, but it's really not that complex once you understand the logic behind it. So there you go. Now you know how to create an app and you understand how the OAuth flow works. So congratulations, you're ready to start building your next app. Thank you for watching. And as usual, you can find all the information you need at developers.pipedrive.com. And if you want to watch more videos like this to help you build your Pipedrive app, you can subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications. And I will see you in the next video.